Good afternoon, everyone. So, the Archbishop yesterday put out in a video and put out on their website, and if you want to go check that out, it's archokc.org/mass. And the Archbishop put out his video. Of course, we linked to it, encouraged everyone to go watch it. And it's this great moment that after all these many weeks, these 6 weeks, that we finally get to look at going back to the Mass. Of course, this is very important in part to everyone. I've had so many parishioners so wonderfully share with me their great desire to come back to the Eucharist, to receive our Lord Jesus Christ, and talk about what kind of sacrifice that has been, how difficult that has been for them. And believe me, we want you to come back. All of the priests, we're sitting here and we're saying it's not the same without the people of God. We can't be good priests without you all. And so, with great joy and news, the Archbishop has put forth a lot of different possibilities for us to come back to Mass. Now, obviously, if you look at the website, you look at the document that he put forth, you see that there's kind of a general mode that he's conceiving in his mind, that he's looking forward to. And generally that has a 25 to 30% around in there occupancy of the church. Now, one of the things that is good about that is that you get people back in the pews, but of course we're trying to figure out all sorts of different ways of how that will actually play out for each one of us. And so as we look at some of the circumstances today, there's a lot of information that's coming into us. And especially out here in the Panhandle, things are changing a little bit as it concerns the coronavirus. So I just want to tell you that, I've been excited for this news. I'm going to make, this is kind of the big video to talk about some of these things. But I just want to say that I'm going to create a video and release them in succession for each individual church, for Guymon, for the missions, because each community has different setups. And so each community is going to have different ways that they can come back to the Mass. Also, we have to consider the fact that Guymon is right now one of the highest infectious rate, or the most likely chance to get the coronavirus in just about the whole state of Oklahoma. So we need to continue our practices, of course. That's the Archbishop putting out that letter, made it very clear that we are to continue a lot of these things. Now, across the board, no matter where we're going to be, at, whether Boise City, whether Hooker, whether Beaver, whether Guymon here, at all of the places, there are some things that are going to remain the same. First of all, social distancing. Very huge, right? We need to have 6 feet away from each other. Now, the governor gave us a great allowance to say that, okay, we don't have to have 6 feet in churches front to back. We can have one pew empty, and that's sufficient spacing. So for the places and times when we're going to have Mass inside of the church, we're going to need to make sure there's that pew in between us. We'll try to mark them off, but also please don't, take down the tape. Don't, be difficult about this, because again, we're trying to be charitable and in safety help everyone to have a good experience of the Mass. Now, that being said, one of the other things that's really important for everyone to do, of course, on your own, you need to keep your hands well sanitized. Of course, this means that when you're at home, wash your hands for 20 to 30 seconds. Don't just kind of do the water and the soap and we're done. That's not clean, okay? We need to really sit there, do the happy birthday song, do whatever you need to do. Make sure you get your 20 to 30 seconds down when you wash your hands. In addition to this kind of cleanliness of hands is important, because when you come to church, I want you all to bring your own hand sanitizer. Now, some of you might say, Father, we don't have hand sanitizer. We haven't had hand sanitizer for a while. Check your stores, go back and look. There's been a lot of upscaled production recently, and so a lot of people are finding that they're able to buy hand sanitizer now. Amazon.com, they have a lot of places on there that you can go and buy hand sanitizer. What you need to do is you need to have some way that you can have your hands clean washed. Now, sometimes people get really fixated on just hand sanitizer. There are also Clorox wipes, bleach wipes, that can also do the same thing. Effectiveness, of course, you need to get between your fingers on this, work that rag in pretty well. But when you get those, of course, you can pick those up at the store. I just went to Sam's a couple weeks ago, found plenty there. So go to your stores, try to find some of these things, look for them, also share. If you know some neighbors, put some bleach wipes into a Ziploc bag and give it to them. This way we can all help together. But it's very important that we have very clean hands. Right? This is one of the major ways that we're going to end up transmitting it, because again, we're keeping social distancing, so that's good. Most of our breath is not going to, we're not going to have this, we're not going to communicate the virus by our breath so much because we're keeping the distance. That being said, the Archbishop wants everyone to wear a mask. I know you can cite off all sorts of studies that say, it's not as effective as they once said. That's probably true. But to still continue to use the masks, because they do have some efficacy. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. They have some efficacy in there. So to continue to use these things, to wear a mask when you can until the point of receiving communion. And then at communion, you can pull it down right as you get up there to receive communion, and then go back to your seat. With this, you can sit together as family units. If you're a household, or you've been pretty much sharing in this whole time, basically, if you're kind of been living together long enough, you're like, Father, if we were going to be infected, we've shared enough that we would have all been infected. Then you can sit together in the pews. But then you need to leave 6 feet distance between you and the next person. So, please don't fight over these kind of things. This is going to get, turn really ugly and turn the experience of coming back to Mass really awful. If you see that there's a row there up front and you're like, well, that's our normal pew, but there's already somebody sitting there on the other side and there's not going to be 6 feet of space between us and our family. Oh, we'll just fudge it a little bit. No, please don't. As people, that are already seated there, they're going to start to feel uncomfortable. We all have to obey by these rules because they are the state mandates. This is how we have to proceed. And so it's not just the Archbishop telling us leave those 6 feet, but we also need to leave that space for people's just well-being. To minimize their levels of anxiety and fear. And so it really is a great act of charity to leave that space. Now, one other thing that we need to talk about, that no matter where we are and when we go, is how to receive communion. In receiving communion, we go up in the line, but again, staying 6 feet apart from each other. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little slower, and that's okay too. We're going to put down some signs on the ground, kind of like at Walmart, and they're going to show you how to space out. But please be respectful of these things. Now, we're also asking that only those who are to receive communion are coming up, which means that the kids stay in the pews. If they can't receive the Eucharist, they stay put. If that means having one parent stay with them and watch them if that's necessary, then go ahead and do that. And then send the other parent up after, when there's kind of a break in the line when they can come up. We will distribute communion until everyone who is ready, disposed, and should be receiving communion has received it. We're not going to rush this. So you don't have to worry. You don't have to fight. You don't have to run. You don't have to rush. We want everyone to receive the Eucharist, okay? So take it easy. Space yourself apart 6 feet. When you go up to receive, now we ask you to receive in the hand. This is very important for the transmission of the disease, for this illness, this virus, that we're asking that everybody receive in the hands. One hand on top of the other hand. And then when the priest places it there, please don't have this kind of, temptation to grab at it, to kind of like hold tight to it, because we've had, even before the coronavirus restricted us from having no public masses, we had people that were touching the priest's hands. Well, if you cough on your hands and now you touch the priest's hands, every host that the priest touches and every person after that now is at risk of getting the coronavirus. So, don't touch the priest's hand as he's placing the host in your hand. Now, once you receive the host in your hand, the priest places it down. Take 2 steps to the side. So if, you're receiving up here and in line, take 2 steps to your left, or if it's to the right, the open space, take 2 steps to your right. And in that way that you can get out of the way a little bit, receive the Lord, make the, proper devotions that you have, and then to go back down to your pews. Please, best you can. I understand that if some of you need some help to walk, maybe you normally grab onto the pews, but if, as much as possible, let's try not to touch everything. This goes for your kids as well. If, for the kids that are coming to Mass, please be careful with them. Watch what they're touching and what they're doing, because while children aren't really majorly at risk for this virus, they can be large communicators of it. They can touch something, and that contact can then transfer it to other places. So ask you all just to be very careful about that. Also, in bringing those wipes with you, to wipe down your space after you finish. Once Mass is over and there's the dismissal, we'll have instructions on how each portion of the church is going to be dismissed. Please don't just get up and just rush and get out. We have to do this in a type of order, because again, it's all about trying to be careful about the virus at the same time, though, to get us back to the Mass. Now, that kind of covers a lot of the generals. We will have a collection basket in the church closer to the entrance area, and so it won't be, we're not going to pass the basket around, obviously, touch, but we're going to put a basket out there for you to place your donations into. Of course, we really want to encourage everyone to give what they can, because the church has been without a consistent collection for 6 weeks now. This has really taken a great toll on all of our budgets, which haven't had a lot of leeway in them to begin with. We're not, destitute yet, but they're not going to come shut the electricity off just yet. But, we have bills to pay. And I understand that you all do too, and that some of you all have been without jobs, without work. Do what you can. But continue to remember the church, support the church. Without your donations, we don't have other sources of income. There is nothing else but your generosity. Now, something else to keep in mind is also not to congregate. There's a lot of people you're going to see, and you haven't seen them for a long time, and you're just going to want to catch up, and you're going to want to get close again. Keep your 6 feet and take it outside. If you guys are going to continue your conversations, make sure there's lots of space between you. Take it outside. These days have been beautiful. And so it's going to be wonderful to see everybody back together. But take it outside. Now, there's going to be differences in a lot of things that we do. A lot of people have been asking me about confirmation. They've been asking about RCIA, those who were supposed to come into the church at Easter, baptisms, first communions. There's been a lot of discussion about this. We're trying to work on our plans on how to best do this, and also when to do this. We would not, the ideal is not to have this during the time that we're having this kind of restrictions. After all, these great sacraments are great celebrations for the whole church, and so we want the maximum number of people there. But also we recognize that there are some limitations out there, so we're trying to work on that. If you have a wedding planned, please call in. We are going to have to delay the Gran Boda, the big wedding that we're going to have of all those couples that we're going to join together in a single Mass. We've got to delay that now. Our timeline is looking like we're not going to be able to have that great big celebration, especially here in Guymon, but we will have it. A lot of things are going to come out in the next couple of weeks. We're putting together a bulletin for the weekend of the 23rd and the 24th, so that'll be available for you at the end. Also, we're going to need a lot of volunteers. We're going to need a lot of volunteers to help us with this, because there's a lot of things that have changed. Certainly, we're going to need our lectors. So if you normally lector, please talk to whoever the coordinator is at the church to connect with him. If at the missions there's not a particular one, go ahead and contact me directly. We also are going to need a lot of ushers, and ushers that are maybe not of the dangerous age or the at-risk age. Now, this is, something that we're going to need people to kind of help us out, to step up and take the responsibility for. It will include that, you'll have to wear a mask. So if you don't have a mask yourself, we do have masks to provide just for those ushers and the extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion that'll help us to distribute. There's going to be special, things for all the ministers during Mass, the lectors, the ushers, the extraordinary ministers. We're going to have, special instructions for them, videos here that'll kind of go through and talk about some of these things. But if you know that you want to help, if you know that you're already saying, you know what, Father, I know you need people. I'm ready to stand up. I'm ready to do this. I'm convicted. I'm ready. Great. Ushers will also need gloves. And we have some gloves coming. I don't know how many yet that we're actually going to get. But we're working on that. If you have your own gloves, great. I welcome you to provide your own gloves. Other things, really clear. And maybe I'll put up a big bold thing up here. It's really important for you all to remember that the Archbishop has put forth this dispensation that we do not have to go to Mass on Sunday. Now, as we know, we normally have this obligation, but the Archbishop has dispensed us from that responsibility for this time being. At least, he's going to evaluate sometime later in the future as things get better and things start getting back to normal. Of course, that obligation will return to us. That dispensation will expire and we'll come back to Mass. But for the time being, no one, and to be clear, no one has to come to Mass except for the priest. If we had no one else coming to Mass. That being said, we also want you to come back to Mass. We want you to come back to the Eucharist. And so, we're very excited about this change, this development that the Archbishop has brought forward in conjunction with the civil authorities, that we can have these Masses again open to the public together. And we believe that they're going to be very powerful and bear much fruit for our communities, especially in these dark times. So we want to encourage everyone to come. Now, everyone that is, but keep mindful, if you're over the age of 65, if you have pre-existing conditions that make you more vulnerable to this virus, please stay home. Don't have some kind of fear that you're missing out. Keep and continue to watch it online, but please stay home. This is not worth risking to come to Mass, because then the next call I might get is coming to give you last rites, and I don't want to do that, at least not yet. I want you to come back to church normally, healthily, to enjoy this community and to benefit it even more by your presence and your grace. So please, if you feel that it is not healthy for you to come, please stay home. Now, I'll make a little bit of a stronger exhortation for those who have the virus or have had the virus and are still manifesting symptoms, such as coughing, fever, shortness of breath. So, really, people, those of you who have had it, please don't come. This is more than just charity, and this is responsibility. I know there are so many of you who are aching to receive the Eucharist, and I really desire deeply that you come. But if you have the virus, please, we cannot let you in. If we know that you've had the virus, we're going to have to stop you at the door. If we know that you've had the virus and it's been 14 days, 14 days is just an estimate for how long they think the virus runs in the body. But we know from the statistics that our state has given, there are still people who back in March had the virus and they still are not taken off that list. They are still suffering from it and they're still able to infect people. So 14 days is not just this magic number and all things are fixed. If you are still manifesting symptoms, please do not come. If you have over 100-degree temperature, please do not come. This, again, is our responsibility to care and to love for our neighbors. So please do not come. It's hard for me to say this. It's hard for me to exhort you all in this way. But truly, we cannot put in danger all of our other parishioners, all of these other families, for our selfish desire to come to the Lord. I know that it's a good desire and that we have a responsibility for our own souls to care for our souls, and that Jesus Christ is the best thing for our souls. But if at the same time we're doing damage and causing people to become ill because of our presence, then we haven't been charitable and loved one another. So please, stay home a little longer. Again, we will come back. We will all be joined back together in this beautiful church with this celebration of the Lord's Eucharist. Also, if you have allergies, I have allergies. And I recognize that there are different things that come along with allergies. And some of those symptoms of allergies look like symptoms of the coronavirus. The Archbishop and the task force have strongly encouraged anyone who has symptoms that are similar to the coronavirus but are due to allergies or some other illness, stay home. It's the hardest one for me to encourage people on because I know what it's like to have allergies. And even still, we have to protect these other people. And you say, but I'm not contagious. Not just in the matter of, our charitability is not just a matter of things that are founded completely in fact. They're also founded in those expectations. The person next to you may become horribly judgmental of you. And yes, that is their problem. But if we can do something to help that, then out of charity and love, I'm asking you all to forego coming to the Eucharist just a little longer till your allergies clear up, till you're able to come back to Mass with no visible symptoms of this or that or the other. It's a hard, heavy thing, but we've come into this virus, and it's been difficult, this kind of downward trek, and now we have to start climbing out. And so this is that process. Now, as I put forth a lot of these things throughout here that we've talked about, we're also going to have a reevaluation on June the 1st, in which we're going to take an evaluation of how things have been going with the virus out here, and can we make changes or adaptations. So just know that there's progress. There's things that are happening. I'll put out some more update reports on kind of how things are moving along, just to let you all know that this isn't stagnant. This isn't the way it's going to be. We certainly are coming out of this, but the process and the road that comes back to is going to be a little challenging. It's a longer video than I was hoping to to share along with, but I'm glad that this is getting ready to happen. I'm glad that we have gotten all of this. The Archbishop has given us so many tools to access, so many things to work with, so that we can really come back and enjoy the Eucharist together. And so, as always, my prayer for you all, God with you.